Do we have Andy on the call?
Here we go. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. And we've got Stuart on the call too, correct?
Yes, you've got Stuart from England on the phone.
All the way, it's evening there in England, so welcome to the call.
All right, well, I'll start off with a couple of introductions. We'll get things started here. First of all, I'm Andy Morbitzer, CEO of Panther Strategies, and our educational platform, Atlas Forge, which is pure education, which is one of our products here at Panther. So on the call today, we have, first I'll introduce my partner and my future wife. She's been the integral part of bringing this platform to market. Her attention to detail, her focus over the last year and a half, as we traveled the world and met different people, different relationships, different assets that people offered from around the world. Without her, none of this would have been possible. So with that said, Nicole, if you'd like to come on, say hi, that'd be great. Yeah, there she is.
I'm just going to quickly say hi, everyone. Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you, Andy, for the lovely introduction. And, you know, this platform has been a love and a second, or I guess a third baby for me. Got 2 kids already. So, this is a labor of love for sure, Panther Strategies, and we're excited to share it with the rest of the world.
Well, I appreciate your hard work and everything that you've done to get us to this point. I think it's a great product. It's at a great time. There's a great need for what we offer. So I think there's great value in what we're going to present here. And then the other individual I have on board is a longtime friend, a network marketer, and that I've known for, I would say 10 or 15 years by now. His experience is, he's got decades of experience in the business. He's who I go to as a mentor. We've looked at many different platforms, projects, scams, everything that you could imagine for decades in networking. So all the way from across the pond, from the United Kingdom, one of my go-to mentors, somebody I hope that will lead our company in the future throughout Europe. Stu Billington. Stu, if you'd like to say hi. I know you don't have your camera, but at least say hi to everyone as we get started here.
Hey, Andy, thank you so much for that introduction. It's very kind. Yes, you're very true. We do go back a long way. And I'm so pleased, really pleased to be here this evening with you two, because there's nothing nicer, you know, than working with people that you really feel are very special. So thank you, Andy, and thank you very much. Well, Nicole, both of you. I'm just very pleased.
Well, we appreciate you coming on board. We love everything about it. We love your experience. We love your insight. So we think we've got something that is very unique. We're first to market in a lot of these products. So early movers have great advantage here, not only with, you know, one of the principles of additional income streams, which is what Panther offers. We also have a retail side of Atlas Forge that will be pure educational. So we really have the best of both worlds. We have retail, and then we have empowering people to be entrepreneurs, to understand capitalism and freedoms and the different options they have to maintain their standard of living, their quality of life. So with that said, if everybody's ready, let's get started on the first presentation here at Panther Strategies and move forward.
Sounds good.
Yep.
When we start out with these pictures and these, the pictures that you're seeing are of me and Nicole, and it's our travels really around the world where we went and met different individuals. I think we hit 18, 19 different countries here over the last year or two, building relationships because, quite frankly, we're in a world of mystery. When I look at the internet, you really don't know who you're dealing with. It could be a made-up entity for all I know. So we spent a lot of money and a lot of time traveling the world to go and meet the families and the CEOs of several companies that are going to assist us in diversification. And these are pictures from Frankfurt, Germany. with some strategic metals folks and their family at dinner. They treated us to a tour and a unique German, I think it was lunch or dinner. But the point of these pictures, and we want you to know that we're real. Everything that we present to you, we've done ourselves. We've traveled there. We've met the owners. So this is, this one is where, Nicole? I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, this is in Spain.
Okay, this is in Spain. Where else have we been?
Panama, which
Okay,
I believe is where our first travels were in the strategic metals field. So not where we ended up.
What's that?
I said, I believe Panama was one of our first countries that we went to investigate strategic metals, but that's not where we ended up. You really have to source out and make sure you're doing business with the right people.
Yeah, we were prepared to write a big check and invest in strategic metals and be glad that we did our due diligence and we did background checks on individuals, and red flags emerged. So we discontinued that and we kept searching. This is a picture of our great friends of the SPGMX in Singapore, the CEO of that high-tech vault that's got all the beautiful artwork and store stuff for Christie's auctions. I love Singapore for a lot of different reasons, mostly because of their banking rules and regulations are fair and equitable, and they've got the strongest banking in the world. So we thought it was a great place to incorporate. Atlas Forge is incorporated in Singapore. So we traveled there. This is, where is this, Dubai?
Yes, it's Dubai.
We go to Dubai, and back there I think is the Jumeirah, maybe the most expensive hotel in the world. We went there, we met some gold contacts. Next. Okay, this looks like Hong Kong Harbor. In Hong Kong, we love Hong Kong because the specifics of international banking and the Hong Kong dollar that is pegged to the dollar also can be depegged and be its own currency, its own indice, if you will. So we believe in diversification in not only currencies, but banking. Okay, next. Okay, this looks like it is Singapore, and I've already talked briefly about Singapore.
Sorry, I got the slides mixed up. It looks like this is us just goofing off in Singapore again, but you kept talking about Singapore. I'm like, where is that Singapore slide? So.
Okay, well, Singapore, behind us in the lower right picture, you can see a very unique hotel that's got, I think it's a 5-star hotel we stayed at, that's got the pool up on the upper deck. That you can oversee Singapore, and Singapore at night's beautiful. There's a beautiful restaurant up there. But really the main reason for Singapore was we met, had a relationship with the CEO of the most technologically advanced vault I've ever seen in security. I firmly believe that Singapore will be a major player, very similar to Wall Street. I believe it'll be the financial district of the Pacific Rim. So you always want to have an interest there, have an account there, do banking there, open up new markets, emerging markets, and of course diversify, have assets abroad and those types of things. Okay, next slide.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say I actually call it the James Bond vault, although it's got a little bit of a Star Wars concept as well, because the security isn't absolutely amazing. You have to have your passport to get into the vault, pretty much because it's in a duty-free zone. And it had these almost like these beam me up Scotty kind of glass vestibules that you would walk into, and the door closes behind you, and I don't know what it does, scans you or whatever, but it was amazing security for this vault. So we were pretty impressed.
Okay, and this is New York, my old stomping grounds down at 123 Main Street, where it all happens. There's the Great Bull, and there's us having an adult beverage somewhere in a hotel we stayed at, and then there's the picture of Nicole mimicking the figure there, and I'll tell you more about the figure later and those types of things. And as we teach and we get through this, we're going to talk a lot about Wall Street, central banks, governments, and the like. So next slide.
Well, and we were actually meeting with our tax strategist in New York, who lives out of Manhattan. So which everyone will be introduced to soon as a part of the Atlas Forge subscription.
That's, it totally blew my mind. We've brought on, and our intent here, guys, is you always want to mitigate tax. You always want to pay as little tax as possible, but you need to do it legally and be knowledgeable of the different things that you can do around the world. And what might apply to one person might not apply to the next. But we have one of the best for our personal tax strategist, and we'll introduce him here in the coming weeks. And all the benefits of, anything from an LLC to trust, wills, etc. He's joined us with Atlas Forge to educate us on all things tax. And then the next slide was our friends out in Scottsdale, Arizona. The folks that minted our Panther products, our gold and our silver, are there at the table. We're at the APT Scottsdale. The professional pro golf was there that week, so you can see that in the background. Great people. And then we've got Jack Jai and his wife in the picture on to the left. That's our Chinese liaison. And there's a picture of Nicole and the Jais there on the bottom picture. Okay, next. So as you can see through these pictures, we've spent a lot of time, a lot of money physically going and meeting people, going and looking at the facilities, the vaulting, their structure, their process. And we came back really, really pleasantly surprised that there's a lot of opportunity, guys, out there. And I'll show you the reasons why you don't want to have all your money in any one asset, whether it be cryptocurrency. We're gonna do some cryptocurrency education on Atlas Forge. And then, to start right out of the gate, we're going to start with really Metals Month, with things that you've never seen before and their application, their use, their uniqueness. We're the only wholesalers in the world that I know of that even present these metals, and they're absolutely amazing. They perform and check all the boxes. They're very excited. So we're going to share some of those here today. And then this is a picture down in, I'm not sure where, Panama maybe?
This is Acapulco.
Acapulco. Okay, this one was, I think, just rest and relaxation.
Yeah, well, you can see we were still working in that bottom right picture. We've got our laptops set up and our little office set up right by the ocean. So.
Well, that's the beauty of what we do. We can work remotely. We can work from anywhere in the world. We're perpetual travelers, and I think it's one of the greatest things that we offer. Entrepreneurship has a lot of benefits and a lot of advantages. And I know, Stu, you've been working from home and been an entrepreneur for decades. What do you think is the most exciting thing about being an entrepreneur?
It's nice of you to say an entrepreneur. After seeing Andy and Nicole, what you two have just done, and the pictures and the way you've been around the world, I feel blown away, really. I feel a little bit embarrassed almost with, but that's what really made me sort of like, how can I say, I like to hang around with people that can make it happen. And that's what happened to me many years ago in networking when I was just running my own business. I came across it by accident and saw very talented people on stage that were making more money than me and working less hours. And I thought to myself, this can't be as silly as what it seems. And this is nearly 30 years ago, 28 years ago, believe it or not, selling damn water filters. And I saw the industry. I thought it was silly, but then I saw this nurse, a lady that got up on stage, very genuine. And I suddenly thought, just hang on, this lady is making more money than I'm making full time. I better take seriously this business, this industry. So I started looking into it and teaching myself and hanging around with the people that were making it happen, because I'm a great believer in that. And that's exactly what I did. And you wouldn't believe the things that have happened to me over those 28 years. I moved on to other companies, as like people do, and I became very successful building teams of up to 50,000 people worldwide. And in some cases, with just a silly water filter. And you wouldn't believe the things that can happen in networking, but a lot has changed since then. The internet wasn't around then. It was all phone calls and face-to-face, Andy. And, in a way I miss those days, but the beauty of the internet today is that it's very fast. But let me tell you this, I always I've always believed now, and I do always believe that network marketing, it's my passion, and it's where I made my money, is like almost the last bastion of free enterprise. I mean, we've all got the opportunity to make a lot of money in it, and if you've got the right products, and unusual products and different products and products that nobody in the world has had before, i.e. your strategic metals, before we even start with the rest, then you've got to take this very seriously indeed. And obviously, Andy, I've known you a long time, and you're a very, very, very serious person. So I'd be very silly not to be part of it.
Well, thank you, Stu. I mean, we've seen a lot over the decades. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
And don't be fooled. Stu's, he's an entrepreneur at heart, and he's a hardworking. I've seen him in action. I've seen him build businesses that are enormous. So he's been through the rough waters, been up and down. And when it all comes down to this, one of the very first reasons, or one of the deciding factors, because quite honestly, Nicole and I could have just retired and be laying on a beach somewhere in the sun, maybe right back down here in Acapulco. But I don't want to say that I had a calling, but I do feel that this platform has the ability to help a whole lot of people. And once I present to you the encumbrances and the risks of your standards of life, and that it's vital that you have a plan B, additional income, and protect and save, you'll see what I mean. But this industry, as great as it is, I still felt like I needed to do something that was upfront, honest, prudent, and it wasn't a money game. And you're not going to see money falling from the sky and stuff on our websites. This is big boy MLM. This is big boy networking and financing. This isn't a money game. This is true, honest. As we traveled the world and we talked to a lot of people, they all said they wanted something that was honest and fair and a good product, because there's so much nonsense out there. So ultimately, that's what really swung us of, kind of disappearing from the scene for a couple of years, and building our own platform. And we're going to build this into our golden years. This is the last one we're doing. We're going to teach and train and help as many people as we can. And hopefully we'll make a couple of millionaires here in the next 1 to 3 years through sound, prudent, objective thinking and application to those lessons learned. So I appreciate you, Stu. I'm glad you came aboard. I'm excited. I need somebody to go to. So we'll leave it at that. But I agree with you. This business is absolutely wonderful. That's why we're on here. So many times I go to sites, you weren't even sure who the owner was. You couldn't verify who he was. There's no picture, no documents, no anything. So we're presenting ourselves right here, upfront, transparent, because we know we have no nonsense products and it's not a bunch of hype. This is us, one at a Cincinnati Reds baseball game, one at the a vault that I'm looking for vaults right now to purchase. And then where are we down on the lower right, Nicole?
That's the CN Tower in Toronto.
Ah, the CN Tower in Toronto. Okay, we kind of split. We have residency and homes in the States and in Canada. So we move back and forth. Right now I'm in the States and Nicole's in Canada. So that's where we are right now. Okay, the next. Okay. As you will find when I do presentations and I start training and teaching and mentoring people on all things financial, you always have to start with a problem. Then you're going to have a solution and really a call to action. And that's what this call is about. When we look at money, whatever form that may be, there's some things you need to learn, and you need to learn them quickly. So I did an overview today, and the very first thing that really encumbers or is of concern is inflation. And here you see it says the silent killer always at work. Inflation happens 24 hours a day, every month, every year. And it's proven by, sometimes I'll go to an inflation calculator. You can Google it and you can look at what the prices of milk were 30 years ago, or a car. And you look at the enormous price increase of all goods and services, but wage has not increased as well. So inflation is really just a fancy word for tax. It is something that's hidden. We have an annual, 2% inflation here in the United States that's always eating at you. And why inflation really hurts is inflation is really decreasing your purchasing power. So think of it this way. Let's say you're a baby boomer, you're elderly, you have a fixed income, you're on a social income or program, Medicare, Medicaid. What are some of the social programs they have over in the UK, Stu?
Sorry, what was that?
Do they have social programs like over in UK? Do you have like unemployment and like Social Security and those types of things?
Oh, huge. There's a lot of more, so many young people. There's a young side of things now where so many people now are out of work and really wondering what to do. It's a very serious, dangerous time, and people really don't know what to do at this stage. They're lost, and the government's not doing much better. We're in a very serious time, Andy.
Okay. Well, I think that's the general consensus around the world. When you see who it affects most, the fastest is fixed income retirees, people that have a set amount of money. That it may be a retirement, it might be a pension, it might be a 401k, it might be a distribution of whatever monies that is retire. Understand, if you're on a fixed income, your purchasing power is negated by inflation, because that money doesn't go as far as it did yesterday or last week or 5 years, because costs are rising, but your income remains stagnant or indolent or flatlined. People are living longer because of technology, medical advancements, organic foods, all different types of things, and people are outliving their savings. So it's dire for a platform like Panther Strategy as a plan B, an additional income stream. This is perfect. It's turnkey worldwide. We've done all the work. All that you have to be is a good inviter. Teach, get people on calls like this so we can start educating and training their minds on what they should do. This, to me, is, one of the very first principles of Panther Strategies is you've got to have multiple streams of income. You might have a 9 to 5, but that 9 to 5, the landscape of the workforce is changing. And the old thoughts of, go to college, get a job, pay taxes, retire, and retire on social programs or pensions, it doesn't work. You will be average or below average your whole life. So we teach the principles and the strategies on how to mitigate that, how to make money from your money. We don't want people to exchange time for money, because there's an easier and better way. And once you start into that and you get out of this vicious cycle of this debt ecosystem in which we live, things are much better when you don't have to worry about money. I'm earning money right now doing this webinar in multiple ways, in multiple assets. So inflation is very damaging, and it's happening all around the world. And now somebody did ask me the other day, since the government's print here in the United States about $11 trillion over the last decade, why aren't we seeing hyperinflation? And there's a very easy answer for that. Understand, when governments print the money, and I'm going to talk specifically right now about the Fed, the United States, they print the money and it went to bailing out the other central banks that were improperly funded as far as reserves, meaning the bank only keeps a certain fraction of deposits, and then they go out and they invest it in derivatives and securities in these high risk toxic loans, for example, and they're risking your money. Now, when they lose, everybody loses, and they get bailed out by the government. So that's what happened. Quantitative easing was meant to stimulate the economy. Well, in this bailout, if you will, they bailed out the central banks. They bailed out Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the people that write loans, the housing industry, the car industry. So the money never really got to the end user to cause this hyperinflation. It remained within the walls of the central banks that bailed out other banks and built out what I call the distribution arm. Remember, Without the expansion of money or monetary velocity, the great Ponzi scheme we know as the Federal Reserve would come to an end. That's why you're not seeing interest rates go crazily back up. And that they can barely raise them 0.25%, because if they raise them too fast, well, they're going to bankrupt the Fed. So inflation is used really as a vehicle and a tool by governments to slowly but surely generate revenue and tax. That's exactly what it is. So the reason why we don't have hyperinflation is because the money never got to the end users. It bailed out Wall Street and banks and utilized it for high ticket items, the cars and homes and loans, because somebody buys a house, of course, there's a huge loan. You're expanding monetary supply. That's why they bailed out the banks and the cars. Next, debt. Debt, as I wrote an article the other week about debt being the worst four-letter word that in the vocabulary. Debt is what's currently the highest risk for your money. When I look at debt, I look at worldwide debt. This isn't just the United States or the UK or Europe. This is a worldwide problem. And I heard saw Matt Sheriff today on Facebook says, he made a post about, we're drunk on free money. And what that really means is money is so cheap to get right now. Everybody's in debt. Everybody's borrowing it. But here's the problem. They're borrowing the money for consumption, to buy things, physical, material things. Money's not being loaned or used objectively. It's not used to earn money or build something or have a return on investment. It's going to consumption. So all this debt is not stimulating an economy, offering new jobs or revenue or residual income. It's being used for material things. So the debt is true debt, and it's the whole world. We're drunk on free money. And what I mean by that is, as you can see down here, let's take the example of $300 trillion. Drunk on free money, that is debt that is owed. And right now, governments, if they're not already bankrupt, will be very soon, because you heard like last week that they raised the discount rate 0.25%. And they look like they're going to raise it, for the next year or so. Think of what debt service is. And let's just take an easy example of how in debt we really are as the human race, the world. And it's going to have its consequences. Absolutely. If you just applied 5% to $300 trillion, that's $15 trillion of debt service, meaning that's the interest that needs to be paid on that borrowed money. That is unsustainable. That is terminally declining. No ands, if, buts are about it. The worst thing that you should be fearful of in your standard of living and quality of life and your hard-earned dollars is debt. Because if you look throughout history, debt, typically the onus of the burden of debt is paid for by average, middle class people just like you and I. And then they tax us, then they regulate us. Or some countries, they just flat out seize the money. They just take the money. They're going to, they'll reduce Social Security. They'll start reducing or revaluing your pension. And that's a huge one. So this debt is what I believe there's a great disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And all this debt, highest consumer debt in history, meaning credit card debt, personal debt, educational debt, the millennials that just got out of college, they're coming out of college with six-figure debt for college and can't find a job. So this educational debt is also non-forgivable under bankruptcy laws. So it's not going anywhere. It's a direct hit to the government's profit and loss statement. And it's about $1.5 trillion. That's bigger than the 2008 crisis that just happened a decade ago. And that's just student credit card or student loan debt. If you add in personal debt, credit card debt, you get up into $70 trillion. Okay, next slide. So the last thing I'll say about debt is if you're in debt, by all means, find a way out as fast as you possibly can. One of the best ways is to earn more money. That's all I can say, earn more money. And you got to get out from underneath that. That's what's making you sleep less at night. That's what's got you all worried and stressed and frustrated, and it has negative effects on your body. Debt is bad. And it leads us right into interest rates. We've got all this debt at historically the lowest interest rates ever. I read another article, interest rates and debt. The problem is, historically, we've never seen what's going on in the world right now. We've got the lowest interest rates in history, and we've got the highest debt in history. And that is the perfect tsunami, the perfect recipe for disaster. These rates are the lowest it's ever been since World War II, the Great Depression. And like I just spoke about, debt service. How is your government going to pay all of its debt? How are you going to pay all of your debt? Most people, most governments, most companies can't even maintain the debt service they have now, meaning they can't pay their interest on the money that they've already borrowed at historic lows. So when this goes up by 5%, which it will, boy, there's going to be a lot of companies going out of business. It's going to be a lot of bankruptcies. You're going to see turmoil after turmoil. That's the effect of free money. That's what's causing the inflation. The only thing that's saving us right now, and interest rates not skyrocketing, is because it would bankrupt the Fed. So we're in a sticky situation. If a Lehman Brothers or another collapse of any kind of financial institution would happen, we can't print any more money. We can't lower the rates any lower than what they already are. So what do? Your money's at risk. Right now, more than ever in history, ever. So interest rates are, if you're on a home equity line of credit, for example, if you're on an adjustable rate of any kind whatsoever, guys, lock that thing into the lowest interest rates in history and just do it now. Because if you're on a loan that's, take an indice like a LIBOR over by like where Stu's from, the London Interbank Offering Rate is what they call an indice. And as that indice starts going up, the interest rates that you pay will be passed along to you as the end user. And if you're on an adjustable rate, most of the time they have caps of what's called 2 and 6, meaning they can go up 2% per annum or per year, over 6% over the life of the loan. So let's say you're at 5% right now. On these HELOCs and these adjustable interest rates, you could be at 11% very quickly. That would double what you pay. Double. So interest, you got to get out of those adjustable interest rates, get out of those home equity lines of credit, and get on fixed as quickly as possible. Okay, the next. Negative interest rates and fees. The whole excitement and movement and mentality of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency really came about out of really two ways. The internet needed a fast, cohesive payment system for the new communications technologies that came around in the 90s. 91, 92, up in that area, 94. And so it only made sense that somebody would take and make a cryptocurrency or a payment system for we the people. And the other thing was because negative interest rates and fees. You look at banking and you look at central banks. And here in the United States, take a Wells Fargo, just 2 months ago got fined $200 million. Well, that's nothing. What I don't understand is we deposit our money into banks, but we don't get any interest in return. You asked me one of the reasons why I love Singapore. Guess what? Singapore pays an interest. They pay you to deposit your money there. In the banks, in the Europe and the Western world, you don't get any interest. You put your money in there and you don't earn anything. And quite honestly, if something would crash or something would happen, the stock market, there's currency wars, trade wars, your money in cash sitting in the bank is highly, highly subject to being frozen, seized, encumbrances. Negative interest rates, it's just the start. The banks are charging you to deposit your money in their banks, but they don't give you an interest, a return. But yet they're turning quarterly profits in the billions, but can't afford to pay us, the people, a fair and honest interest. So it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And then you add on, anytime you go anywhere, there's wires for printing of your new checks. There's fees for wires. There's fees if you don't use a certain ATM or you use a different ATM. You got to keep minimum balances. There's transaction fees, minimum transaction fees. I mean, when does it stop? The regulation, to send money to Stu in London takes 3 seconds, but because I sent a wire, it'll take 3 to 5 days and cost me $50. That's not fair. That's not equitable. So that's why cryptocurrency really came onto the scene. It's decentralized. It's money that we, the people, own, maintain, control. It's a real property. It's a great asset. You'll hear me talk about it a lot. That's why we have an ever-changing financial landscape right now in cryptocurrency. It's great. So, the banks, the archaic debt ecosystem that we're all a part of is very expensive. And quite honestly, there's nothing worse than asking mom if you can move money to London. It's ridiculous. You got to get permission. If you take out more than $10,000, for example, you got to write and explain to a bank teller of all people why you want the money. You know that anytime you move anything more than of $10,000, if it's a credit card purchase, a wire, a bank, a check, cash, because of NAFTA here in the United States, it's all reported to the SEC. Why would this person need $10,000? Well, really, it's none of your damn business. But those are the rules and the regulations that we're subject to. And for what? So it's not cost, it's not effective, it's not timely, it's expensive, it's archaic, it's manipulated. So guys, if you have all your earnings or all your money or your cash sitting in a bank, stay tuned, because you need to move that out of there. You should have some cash at home in your safe anyway, enough to live 3 or 4 months. Real estate bubble, again. We didn't learn our lesson back in 2008, and that's when I walked away from the financial world. I could finally really quantify the manipulation on the stock market. In a true and equitable market, $11.3 trillion is not sucked out of the stock market. It's manipulated. And one of those things that are manipulated, if you will, is real estate. Real estate right now, if you took the median average across the United States and the world, it's 70% above the median average, meaning real estate, once again, is way overpriced. Now, why is that? Because the demand is there. Where does the demand come from? Free money. Right now, anybody can go get a house. If you got a heartbeat and two fingernails, you can go into the bank and go buy a house. The same trigger that started the 2008 debacle and the crashing of the stock market, the central banks, meaning the people that give the loans, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, are right back to the same old tricks that they were doing 10 years ago. You can state your income, you can have low credit, you can put very little or no money down. Now here's where it gets worse. The loans that were on the books 8 years ago or a decade ago are still there. And now they're doing the exact same thing. They're bundling these toxic loans and reselling them. The same thing that happened in 2008 will happen again, guaranteed. Everything's cyclical. So when you really look at what's going on in the world, you have bubbles galore. You've got bubbles in real estate. You've got bubbles in the stock market. The bubble in the stock market, go to the next one. Next slide, please. Stock market bubble. How do I know that that the stock market's in a bubble? Well, here's how I know. Right now in the stock market, it's got the highest P/E ratio ever. Or as of about a month ago, it did. It's come down slightly lower right now, so it's not an all-time high, but it's pretty damn close. Price to earnings ratio is the highest of all time. So that Apple stock for these, phones that everybody has, well, to buy stock in Apple, you're going to pay the very highest stock price ever. Now, Panther Strategies, that same, let's say I don't want to pay the highest stock price ever recorded on the stock market, but I still want to invest in an Apple phone. Well, think about it. Or Samsung, or any other flat screen TV, computer, sports, satellite, solar. Guys, it's all made up right here. Apple couldn't build its phone without indium on this touchscreen right here. So when I look at stock market and I look at it from an objective point of view, why would I buy in the stock market at the highest value it's ever been? Doesn't make sense. I can go buy the underlying strategic metal with much less risk, greater long-term speculative investment and returns, because we all know everything's a bubble. As it goes up, it'll come back down, and the stock market right now is setting records, and it's setting records because of that third little bullet point right there, quantitative easing. You got to understand that the IMF, the Fed, the central banks, and Wall Street, these guys, they're all in the same boat, and your well-being is not at top on their priorities list. Let's put it that way. They have their own agendas. They want to make their own money. It's all about money, money, money. So when things go bad, what's a great use of quantitative easing? Where can we apply money? And now I'm speaking from a government standpoint. We know things are bad. We know unemployment, dollar devaluation, we're in debt, people are hurting, but what can we do to make them feel euphoric and that everything's all right? Well, how do they do that? They show all-time highs on Wall Street. All that trillions of dollars that we printed back in the last decade, it's gone to the central banks, it's gone to Wall Street. Because there's a whole bunch of new money coming into Wall Street, but where's it coming from? The baby boomers, who make up 85% of the stock market, are dying at 10,000 people a day. They're taking money out and volume out of the stock market. So where did all this money come from that are setting all these worldwide highest market value? It came from the government's printing money. It's collusion. They're all in it together. This is to make you feel like everything's all right financially. It's not. Don't believe the mass media and the hype. This is further quantified by companies buying their own stocks to pay dividends. And here's what I mean by that. Government comes to you, you're a Fortune 500 company, and well, that'll be a whole nother, I don't want to get into that. We've got limited time here today. So what I'm saying is, when you see companies buying their own stock to distribute a dividend to their investors, you've reached the peak of the market. It's there. So what else do we need to talk about? Baby boomers are leaving the stock market and they're dying. Right now, there's more people that are alive than have ever died, but not in the stock market. These are in emerging markets, third world countries, and we'll get into emerging markets and investing and why I think these strategic metals are going to fly off the table, because there's 3.5 billion people that are unbanked. They have no access to capital. Guess what they're all going to have here soon? More phones, more computers, more Wi-Fi. So if you're in the stock market right now and you're seeing the record-breaking all-time highs in the stock market, am I saying take all your money out of the stock market? No, I don't give financial advice, but I can tell you what I did, what Nicole did. We took a lot of our profits off the top and we diversified into much, much, much safer. assets. Next slide. Okay, central bankers. Guys, I could talk about this for about 3 hours. Central bankers, they're one of the culprits behind all this. Whoever controls the money controls the people, and that's been true through millennia. Nothing's different now. I mean, that's why I hope and I pray that, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin picks up monetary velocity, engages in more utility, more scalability, more penetration into markets and small businesses, because they need a lot more transactions and a lot more monetary velocity than what they have now to compete with the banks. So control of the money, central bankers are notorious for this, and they fund both sides of wars, they manipulate markets, they steal from us. I mean, there is no trust in central banks. You're seeing these central banks, they don't have any of the cash. They hold less than 2% of cash in their vaults of the monies that are supposedly on deposit. And then you see, uprisings all throughout Europe and Iceland and Spain and Greece and Argentina, where you can't access your money. The ATMs are shut off, or you can only get 30 euro per day. Did you guys experience that over there in the UK, Stu?
Not so much in the UK, but Europe certainly, especially in some of the countries that you mentioned, in a very, very bad way. They were on the edge in certain parts of Europe a year or two ago, and like you say, all they've done is just more quantitative easing and more lending and more loaning. So it's just another bigger bubble.
Okay, I agree. I think the whole world is just hemorrhaging and just drunk, like I said, on free money. That free money will have its consequences, and a lot of people are going to get hurt from it, and a lot of people are going to lose I'm going to guess 50% of their net worth will be lost here in the next, I'm going to give it 2 years. We'll see where we're back at it, but there's a real estate bubble, a bond bubble, a currency, a stock market. You're seeing all these bubbles. If one thing pops, it's literally going, and we were so close to the world going bankrupt back in 2008. We didn't learn our lesson. We didn't experience enough pain. And what I mean by that, people don't change until it hurts, until they've experienced enough pain that say, hey, wait, dummy, they just did this to me 10 years ago. Did I learn my lesson? Well, I was there. I remember that 3-week period. And guys, we're in more debt than we were then. Have less reserves than we did then. There's more toxic loans than there were now. We didn't have the debt, interest rate. The tsunami of macroeconomics is upon us. And I don't know what's going to be the pin that pops the bubble, but it's going to affect everything in such a way, because we're all interconnected. We're all pegged to the same indices. And when this goes down, if you're not protected, you'll lose half of what you're worth easily. Now, the great side of this, if you pay attention and you learn and you do some simple basic things, you can come out the other side of this, because it's going to be a challenging decade or two. I promise you. You can come out a millionaire and profit, because understand there's a lot of money to be made in desperate times, because people are willing to sell things or liquidate things below that equilibrium. So if you pay attention, you can come in and pick up some great assets very inexpensively. Now, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say somehow the world miraculously cuts itself off and from this spending spree, and it doesn't all come crashing down. Here's the difference. In essence, we're selling financial stability, financial insurance, financial hedging, financial speculative. So when I look at things, if nothing happens, okay, you still have your premiums. Let's say you bought gold or silver, rhenium, rhodium, platinum, palladium, I don't care, any of the strategic metals that we have, any of the precious metals that we have. You're still no worse off than when you were before. because history shows us these things don't lose value. And I'm going to turn you on to some assets that we won't cover here today that you've never seen, that are killing Wall Street return on investment averages and that have never lost value ever. There's one asset that we'll bring on board here very shortly in the coming weeks where the returns are up and they're documented. It's not like I made up the numbers. They're documented through auctions. So there are some ways that you can protect what you have, invest in from a position of strength, because you got to remember there's a lot of things attacking your dollar. And then we can speculate on some products that are proven with great track histories, and we'll go from there. And then here's the worst of all of it. You go to work, you work your butt off day in and day out, you work for somebody else, you're making that other person rich. And when adjusted for inflation, wage is the same as it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Hasn't changed a bit. Remember I said inflation's the silent killer? That's where you feel it, in your piggy bank. Now, I'll take that a step further. Because of technology and robotics and the workforce and a lot of different remote type businesses that employ people that can work remotely, has a great effect on your body and your mind and freedom and all that kind of good stuff. Production is actually skyrocketing, but wages have remained indolent or slow moving or stagnant. They don't move at all. So as production goes up and wages remain constant, well, your dollar doesn't go as far. You can't maintain your lifestyle or your quality of life like you could before. And as this disparity between production and wages increases, meaning the rich are getting richer because production is skyrocketing, meaning revenue and sales is increasing, but what they pay the workers remains constant. So the rich are earning all this extra money. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And that's why I believe we have such disparity and volatility and anger around the world, whether it's culturally, racially, financially, politically, culturally, is because people are hurting. People are in poverty. And you look throughout the Bible, you look throughout history, all great change happens through the masses. And those are typically the people that are in poverty. And then until that, there's an inflection or an equilibrium that's found between the haves and the have-nots, I think it's going to continue. I mean, I don't see it changing, but the underlying behavior and the underlying problem is debt, stagnant wages, poverty. Oh, you must have added that slide because I'd never seen that slide before. Stagnant wages. Now, here's some amazing things. And I'll get into this. Understand we've got the next year laid out of financial teachings and trainings of, it's just everything, guys. We've spent 2 years putting this together between our experiences and our experts that we have coming on from around the world, from gold and silver guys to the strategic metals guy you'll meet next week. And these aren't just some cats that just know about it. You know, I got the best of the best. I got the metals man. He's renowned. He's the one that sets the prices for strategic metals worldwide. He's been doing it for 30 years. He's been the president of the International Precious Metal Institute. I mean, he's no dummy. Wait till you hear what he has to say. You'll understand why I'm so excited about strategic metals and the future and the Internet of Things. But poverty, emerging countries, the low class are now, there's about 3 billion people that are going to enter into the middle class because of manufacturing, of a lot of different jobs where a lot of CEOs can produce widget A much less expensively in these emerging markets in some of these third world countries. So poverty is increasing in established Western companies, but poverty is decreasing in emerging countries. So what that does is you're bringing billions of people, hundreds of millions of people scattered in and around the Pacific Rim, India, China, Myanmar, all through that region. These people have never had a bank account. They've never been online. They don't have a phone. Well, guess what? Now they have a job. Now they have ability to, they don't even have credit because they don't even have a credit card. They probably don't even have a birth certificate. So it's very hard. So we have the unbanked. Every one of them will have a smartphone where they can conduct business. It's their first look at capitalism, their first look at being an entrepreneur. Oh, and guess what? Everything that makes up a phone is a strategic metal. You'll see. So we're bringing more people onto the Internet of Things. And we're all going to be interconnected, whether it be through satellites, through smart homes, smartphones, smart cars, autonomous electronics. Everything right now for the future, for the next 100 years, is being built right now. Just like we had the agricultural revolution, where they built all the plumbing and the highways and the roads and the infrastructure, just like they had the computers and all that was built, just like they had the industrial revolution of, steel beams and big high rises. It's happening all over again, but it's happening in such a way that we utilize Wi-Fi, smartphones, smart houses, everything electronic will be the boom for the next decade or two. So, and then governments, goodness gracious. I've said enough right now about, let's just move on to the next slide. I don't even want to get into governments today. So what really we did right there, guys, is we presented a problem. Now we can present a solution. That's what Panther Strategies is all about. How do you mitigate loss, tax, exposures? How do you grow your money, earn from your money, get passive residual income, earn additional income through Panther Strategies? How do I buy these products? How do I liquidate these products? So next, let's see. For wealth accumulation purposes, okay, we always have a disclosure. Going forward, probably need to put my glasses on to read that. For wealth accumulation purposes, commodities like gold, silver, real estate, or cornerstone assets been relied upon, safely grow wealth during troubled times. So Panther Strategies is the first and only complete financial platform with vetted, experienced professionals that support our educational platform that deals in real property and financial related assets. There you have it, guys. We've traveled the world digging up assets that have performed very, very well, because we know that paper stocks are the most expensive they've ever been in a manipulated ecosystem, and a whole bunch of risk. Now, as we get started, I see you threw in another slide. We have two charities. 1% of all of our revenue is going to go to the Big Cat Rescue and the children. So I like both of those. So anything that you would like to give from your heart, you can do so at any time or not. It's totally up to you. We as a company will, though, support the kids, and then we did some exotic cats just because they fit the theme. We love animals, and they're just flat out beautiful. So Atlas Forge is all about knowledge. Atlas Forge is where we're going to bring together some of the best minds that through our travels that we've met, that represent different products and schemes and strategies that, quite honestly, I couldn't be more pleased. So everything that we do, Atlas Forge is a product in Panther. It's a subscription. It's what is it? Pioneer and Mastery. There's two levels. Right now, there's a $30 and $60 subscription that's paid on a monthly basis. And this is where you're going to see all the everything from all the products that we sell. Everything will be sold through Atlas Forge. All has a commissionable value that's then applied to the Panther structure, both the retail side and or the business side. So you can do either or. You could build a retail business if you like. You could build a network entrepreneurial site as well. These are turnkey worldwide opportunities of all the products that we're going to have. But it's really, it's going to be input from some of the best people that I know that they've dealt with over the last couple of years, setting up how we're retiring, what we invested in, and why. It could have been geopolitical, it could have been capital controls, it could have been trust, it could have been, hey, some of these things, they're worth a lot of money and they make a lot of money. That, you know, so I'm really killing a lot of birds with one stone. I can hedge and save, I can invest in a safe environment. I mean, the Internet of Things is huge, and I got excited when I could be a part of the ground floor of fundamentally building the, if you will, owning the materials that will build the building blocks of tomorrow. And it's, you know, okay, we got into strategic metals. What's the first one? Okay, strategic metals are metals that make up 95% of all products made. I can't put it any other way. And we'll just start with some that, you know, gallium, and I don't have my glasses on, but gallium, all the cars that you see now have LED lights, which are, you know, light emitting diodes, short as LEDs, if you will. But the main thing about gallium, and right now it's up a couple 100% this year in value, I do believe. It's great for semiconductors and microchips. You got to remember, all estimates that I've researched, and we document this in some trainings in the coming weeks and months, but electronic devices are set to hit a whopping, I think it was 50 billion units by 2020. That's 2 years from now. So gallium is really used for a lot of semiconductors, LEDs. When you look at like dysprosium oxide, this is used for things like lasers. Oh, you've heard of electronic vehicles? Diprosium oxide. You wouldn't have electronic vehicles without it, because they are the magnets for the electronic vehicles. Now, and you look at, okay, emerging markets, emerging technologies, disruptive, that's going to change the world. Electric vehicles, autonomous driving, drones, satellites, all use this stuff. But dysprosium specifically is used with magnets for electronic vehicles. Now, how do I know how much of the stuff's going to be used? What's the demand for it? Well, we have metals month coming up, the start of, well, like tomorrow. This next month, October, we're going to delve into strategic metals, and we're going to call it Metals Month, and you're going to find out exactly what gallium, dysprosium, because there's mandates around the world, in Japan, China, India, the United States. The whole world will have a hybrid or electric vehicle by 2025. The demand for dysprosium oxide, gallium, hafnium, these are going to skyrocket, guys. So that's what these metals do. Hafnium, I'd have to think, oh, hafnium, they use that for integrated circuits, and hafnium, because it has I won't get into the details, know that hafnium is crucial element for nuclear power plants, and a lot of it. And when you look around the world, there's 26 new nuclear power plants that are going to be built just next year. So demand and the energy of the future, a lot of it will be nuclear, and a lot of it will use hafnium. What's the next one? Next slide. And this is the latest that germanium has valued very well this year. But understand, when we talk about values of the strategic metals, they're very different than, say, trading on Forex or cryptocurrency. They do have value, but you don't see the volatility in them. They're slow moving, indolent moving indices. They don't jump up or down crazily. They tend to have a nice trend either up or down, no crazy volatility. So you have plenty of time to react to future technology, any maybe Silk Road, any kind of disturbances. Rhenium, though, and germanium, and what's that? I can't read the one on the lower right-hand side, honey. What's that one? What is it?
Indium.
Okay, indium. I thought it was bars of silver, which silver is used because it's got the best electrical connectivity. But lithium, you wouldn't have, again, you wouldn't have a smartphone, a smart, my big computer here that we do the trading on, it's flat screen TVs, the touch kiosks at the bank, at McDonald's, any of that stuff without indium. Now you've got to look at a world with huge population explosion. I mean, we're up to what, 7.5 billion people. Half of the population is just now where we were 50 years ago with the Industrial Revolution, building the infrastructure. These cities are getting huge. They're starting to build roads and, use the Wi-Fi. And it's emerging markets, to me, are the greatest thing that ever happened, because these strategic metals, some of them are already rarer than gold and silver. And they're already in very high demand. I mean, they barely put out enough to meet the demand now. And because of green technology, here's a quick story. Our house up in Canada, our neighbors moved in and they were Chinese. Why? Of course, they moved there because the smog and the air quality in China is so bad, you couldn't breathe. So they didn't want their kids growing up in China. And they always have, you always see the masks over their face. Well, the World Trade Organization has finally put enough pressure on China to clean up their act and quit emitting so much pollution. And you call it green technology. Well, China produces 85% of the world's strategic metals. Now, think about that. If they're going to comply with green, meaning a cleaner environment, a cleaner world, and they've agreed to do that over a 10-year period, it will cost them more to produce these strategic metals. And understand, all of these strategic metals are already very expensive to pull out of the mine because they're byproducts of mining, whether it be coal or oil or ore. These metals are not something you just dig out of the ground. They need to be separated, a lot of them, and a lot of them are byproducts of mining. So as mining and technology and pressure from the world on China, who distributes 85% of this, the price to bring it to market is going to be a lot more expensive. Now, do you think that Sony's going to use them? Samsung? Do you think there's going to be smartphones? Not only is there going to be smartphones, 5G is already coming. I see the posts already. All these phones that we have, once we get to 5G, will all change. Everybody's going to need a new phone in the next 5 years or so. So you might as well just wait, because it's all going to be new. It's all going to look a little different. It's all going to be 5G. It's all going to be interconnected. And technology doesn't stop there either. There's already the proof and the patent in the company that's going to bring RF technology to phones, smartphones, computers, and cars, meaning they can charge your car, your phone, your battery, and all that hands-free, remotely, just like a radio frequency. Awesome technology. Guess what? They all use strategic metals. So you got solar, which is on the rise. Solar will be the dominant energy force in the next decade. You can't make solar panels without 3 or 4 of these strategic metals. So you got demand in the green energy space and energy and solar panels, and you've got it in airplanes and turbines and war and technology, infrared, satellites, drones, cars. Do you see the Internet of Things that is coming? And the world will be interconnected. And yes, drones and delivery and logistics. Guys, I can't think of a better real property than strategic metals. Next slide, please. We're gonna have to wrap this up. We're over an hour, and I didn't want to go over an hour, but we've got our own, and I don't know if you guys can see it. It's a small picture, but we showed you the folks from Scottsdale Mint, and there's our product. We went ahead and we got, I think there's 3 or 4 different gold products that are minted with our logo, Panther Strategies. I think it's like 1 gram, 1 ounce, and 10 ounce, or something like that. I'd have to look, and sorry, I don't know the exact weights, but it's like 1 gram, 5 gram, and 1 ounce or something like that. But they're beautiful. We chose Scottsdale because they absolutely have the best quality that we've seen. And then we've got a very unique vehicle for logistics and tracking and verification and buyback of your gold if you want to sell it back to me, as long as it's still encompassed, untampered. Nicole, tell them a little bit about certi-lock, if you would.
You just put me on the spot. I know it's got some DNA in there. I know there's a smartphone app that you can download, and you can see the QR code right here on the back of the certi-lock code. So once you actually get your product in your hand, you can actually scan that QR code from your smartphone app, which is completely free to download, and it will show you the pictures of the product that when it was actually put into the certi-lock case, and with the ID, it's got the serial number on it, so you can actually be able to trace that it's the actual, the real deal, I guess, is what you
Right.
could say.
And I think if Stu, you really like this. This was one thing that really stood out to you. I know you're an old gold bug and you've been hedging and protecting yourself for many a decades and with gold and silver. And I know you're an avid collector and hoarder of gold and silver. But what really stood out to you was this certi-lock, wasn't it, Stu?
Oh, amazing. certi-lock is so unique. I know it's going to be hard for people to fully take it in. I've been collecting numismatically, meaning coins and things, with gold and silver, again, for nearly 30 years. And yes, they'll be going through the roof, especially on the numismatic side. But one of the hardest things in the world today is people conning you, are stealing from you, are making things that are fake. And let me tell you, certi-lock, they have a similar thing with coins. I won't go into that now. Hopefully we can talk about that another time. But there's a certain thing with coins, numismatic coins, that when you want to sell them in the world, if they are X or Y, they sell immediately. Now, what certi-lock have done, and it's phenomenal, is that it's so unique, it certifies that it's the real deal, basically. And if you want to sell it, you only need to go on eBay. You look at all the certi-lock products, every one of them sells. Why? People want them because they're real and genuine and you can prove it. Am I mad about certi-lock? I'll tell you something, Andy, in the future, it's going to be one of the only ways to buy gold and silver. If you buy it any other way, you don't know what you're buying.
I agree.
So yeah, Andy, am I mad about certi-lock? I love it.
Thank you, Stu. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, next slide. So we've protected, we can track, we have QR codes. We use the very high quality mint and Scottsdale mint, and the reputation is flawless. We've got some beautiful stackers here, silver. These are all commissionable, just like the strategic metals. When you see them on the site, these are all commissionable values that earn money and volume in the 7 different ways that you get paid in Panther. We also have other products on the Atlas Forge site that aren't branded to us. You know, maybe somebody wants a certain, you know, a kangaroo or a maple leaf or a dragon. There's all different types of gold and silver. And then some are specific for people that, like here in the United States, if you want to convert some of your 401k into gold in a self-directed IRA, for example, it has to be a certain type of gold. A government issued currency or gold coin, if you will. And ours qualifies as well, I do believe. It's ISO certification. So we've got all the certifications. We've got all the checks and balances in place with some great people. Vaulting in, I don't know what, 3 or 4 different locations around the world, duty-free vaulting locations. Some locations make more sense for some people, you know, as we lay this out and we structure this around the world, just like we want to have a tax strategist attorney in each country. So at some point, Atlas Forge and or Panther will have, you know, 100 different tax strategist attorney within our network to help guide and to help mentor people, make them, you know, help them make the right decisions. Because just like Stu said, this day and age, you know, when we went down to Panama, you saw the pictures of the Panama. We went down there to buy strategic metals, and we find out the guy wasn't truthful. He was a con artist. So we went down there. We looked at, you know, it's the easiest country to get your secondary passport. You can go down and get residency. There's always tax implications that are different depending upon where you live. So it's a very big complicated mess, taxation and rules and laws. So we want to, as this builds out, it's my intent to build out a full-blown, maybe real estate agents, maybe some tax strategists, maybe some people that know that are trusted and vetted. And believe me, I'll go there and I'll meet them, hold their feet to the fire, that we're giving good quality advice to help as many people, because not all one law, not all one asset are defined or treated the same way. And just like cryptocurrency, it's deemed differently just about everywhere in the world. One, it's a security. One, it's a real property. One, it's a currency. One, it's a money. Some have taxes. Others have no taxes. I mean, that's part of the problem with cryptocurrency. Nobody knows what. I'm like, there's no defined rules and laws, and what there is vague at best. And then they expect us to, adhere to the law when they don't even know what they're doing. So technology is way out front of rules, regulation, and taxation. I mean, it's good, but it's also bad. So not all these experts are wrong, and not all these experts are right. I look at, like, you have the gold bugs, you have the crypto bugs, you got the diamond guys, you got the Wall Street guys, you got, you know what? They're all wrong and they're all right. And this is why I say that. The diversification is the key point there. You want to have a little bit of this and that. You want to have some assets and an array of assets in different jurisdictions that have different regulations, that have different consequences or different values, or safe havens or duty free. Not all one asset fits all people, nor does it protect you sufficiently enough. You've got to look at things objectively. You look at gold. Well, gold's been seized in the past 3 times here in the United States. I don't think they get away with it in this day and age, the 21st century. I'm just saying rules can change, exposures can change. They could shut cryptocurrency down tomorrow if they wanted. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, Andy, no, they can't. Nonsense. Think. Sure they can. It wouldn't be easy, but that's why I'm so excited about cryptocurrency. As good and as open and as free as it can be, to me, when Nicole and I got in several years ago, why, of course, we bought it for a store of value, another spoke on the wheel, another asset that we own, maintained, and controlled. We've got strategic metals and diamonds and whiskeys and golds and silvers and the rhenium and gallium. We got international bank accounts, multiple jurisdictions, entities and corporations in multiple countries, trusts, wills. I mean, it's a complicated mess. So we're going to boil all that stuff down for you guys, put it in layman's terms, so that you can pass down your wealth to your kids, so you can maintain your standard of living, that you can get in and out of good investments that are prudent, proven. That's what we're doing here. Because all these experts, I can't tell you how many millionaires we've made over the last couple of years. Hundreds of people that followed our advice, got into one of the companies that we're in, or another company, or listened to a call, engaged in a certain industry. We're going to repeat that all over again. But this platform is built for the rest of your life, your retirement, your standard of living, your ability to hedge, protect, thrive in times of good or bad. And diversification is the key. If you have all your assets or all your money in one bank, one investment, if that goes wrong, you're done. Diamonds. You know what? I never knew the power of diamonds up until about 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, but now we're going to get into that. I can't throw all these assets at you at once. We're going to start with strategic metals, the 6 of those that we have, Atlas Forge, the educational site, the gold, the silver, the platinum, palladium. So we've got, 10 or 15 different types of metals, precious and strategic. We got education, but, I know all I need to know about diamonds and how they work, how to do it, how to bring it in, how you can make a lot of money. This is the asset of the world that, since recorded history of diamonds, they've never gone down in value, ever. Good times, bad times, it doesn't matter. They're small, they're truncated, they're condensed wealth. There's no capital controls. A lot of places around the world, you don't even have to report them. A lot of places around the world, there's no tax on them. So how do you buy them? How do you liquidate them? How do you make money on it? And the return on those at auction, Christie auction, the big auction houses, Singapore, Hong Kong, New York, London, these things are setting records worldwide. They outperformed every other asset class in the world in the last year. Yes, even cryptocurrency, all of them. So it's something to think about. Little diversification, little speculative investment, some good hard, everybody's allocation and money's put forth to different assets will all be different. We're going to walk you through what's the first step. We're going to get into debt. Okay, now that we're out of debt, what do I do? How do I protect what I have? What do I do? We're going to get into all these strategies, utilizing these properties or these products. And some of them are dynamite, and 2 of them we haven't even mentioned. There's 2 more assets coming that they're absolutely beautiful. I mean, when I was struck in 2008, and I'll be honest with you, I lost half my net worth in paper assets in 2008. The industry in which I grew up, worked, believed in, invested in personally, I found out it's manipulated, and that's the stock market. And I was part of the problem. I thought, gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. Money's always been my passion, until I found out it was rigged, until I found out it was manipulated. Because in fair and equitable markets, what happened in 2008, I could finally quantify and say, aha, this is a lie. And then I had to figure out, okay, now I'm unemployed. I got a divorce. I lost all my personal property, lost half my net worth. What do I do? Where do I go? How do I rebuild my wealth again? Safely, effectively, objectively. And so we present to you Panther Strategies. This is, these are all life lessons. These are all ups, downs, and experience. Both Nicole, myself, Stu, I've been around the block. And I know right now, in this particular point in time in history, cash, your money, banks, stocks, bonds, real estate, guys, I don't know how to put that. You can't just sit there with your head in the sand, or you're going to lose what little bit you do have. The system is rigged against you. And unless you learn the secrets on how to let your money work for you and it provide steady income and increase, it's tough to do. So we applaud the capitalists, we applaud the entrepreneurs, we applaud the people that took time here on Sunday to get engaged. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't show up on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. There's, football on and all that stuff. That's fine. They'll watch the recording. But now's the time to really engage, because the way I look at it, this is my retirement. This is all strategies and products that I retire with, and I'm sharing them with the people I love most. It's friends, family, networkers, all the people out there that we've helped throughout the years. We've made a lot of people a lot of money. Now it's time to maybe take a little money off the top and be safe and diversify and invest in the future. And I think we'll come out the other side very nice. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up, Nicole or Stu?
I've got nothing to add, Andy, apart from I just like listening to you. But obviously, I don't want to keep on too long because people are, I don't know where they're from, but they probably have got other things to do. But it was great to hear what you had to say. Very, very powerful.
Well, thank you, Stu. It's reality. It's all fact. It's educational.
Just on finishing, my wife was saying, "Oh, can't wait for the diamond." One thing my wife loves is diamonds. So definitely in the right business. And I remember when I was in water filters nearly 30 years ago, she didn't quite understand that game, but she sort of does understand diamonds. It's a funny old thing, isn't it?
Imagine that. Well, we appreciate your expertise and your time that you spent with us here today, Stu. Really appreciate it. Unless Nicole has something else, just want to say thank you for tuning in. Like I said, we've got many assets laid out over the years to come, training weekly, experts. So engage, go to your back office, like us on Facebook and Discord, upgrade your package, upgrade your profile, engage. You can use this video to start sharing with other people and start building a business. Anything from you, Nicole?
No, I think you did an amazing job presenting Panther Strategies and Atlas Forge, so thank you. I'm actually a little bit wowed myself, and I've heard you speak for the past 2 years about this company, so you did an amazing job. So thanks for doing this, Andy, and thanks for all your hard work. And thank you, Stu, for being on the call, and your input has been invaluable. And we look forward to a bright future together with strategic metals, diamonds, of course, the asset class. It sounds like that'll make men and women happy, and many more to come. We've got some goodies and some nuggets up our sleeves, and we are so excited to be able to forge our legacies essentially for everyone. And that's what our mission is really to protect, preserve what we have, and grow it.
I couldn't agree more. Thanks, guys. Thanks for everybody being on the call. Thanks for you that will watch us at a later time. Have a great weekend. This is Andy signing off. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Stu and Nicole.
Thank you.